Okay, this is a game I've been wanting to show you, or at least talk about, but I don't know how, so I guess actually showing you would be the best way to do this. And when I think of you as a character in a story, like the story I've been trying to write, I picture you as a girl in the sky. And I didn't talk to you while I was playing this game, but this game made me think of you, or you made me think of this game. And when I tried to make that imaginable, it's because she could like fly from the sky. And she is a pure character. She's not really good or evil, and she's kind of dumb, but she's always good-hearted. And this doesn't have anything to do with you. I just don't want you to think I'm comparing you to like some sort of villain, because she kind of looks kind of evil. But when I imagine you being the way you are in a story, it would be like this. And there's a lot of attributes to this game that I think match you. Okay, so first of all, the ability to fly. I feel like that really does match you. She could fly, and you like to travel a lot. Like, one of the first things I noticed about you was how much you've traveled. And this game, you could kind of look at 3 different versions of society or architecture, stuff like that. So this would be like the city, like big cities. And I'm just gonna keep talking because this is a this is a long distance between these 3. But when I text you randomly, it's not. I'm glad you don't notice that it's not random to you. That texts aren't just things that just pop up. And I feel like that's a really big issue I have with texting, is that when okay, see, this is like a city. This is like kind of like France or England, something like that. You kind of fly around these cities, and the music too is based off of France. And I'm gonna go back, and that when I text you, it's not because I just want to. Well, a lot of times it is because I just want to chat, because talking to you is relaxing. But when I really say something completely random, it's because it's gotten to a critical point in my head where I can't just ignore it. It's just I have to say something, like something needs to happen, or else I'll go crazy. And when I first started talking to you, it was while I was working at a salt mine, and I was getting ready to quit, and I didn't know where my life was gonna go. And I knew that I always wanted to be a fighter, but that concept seemed so strange to just exist. Like, it doesn't matter just because I want to be a fighter. I have to want to be a fighter. And it's really hard to feel like you could, it's really hard to feel like there's anything to fight for when you only have yourself. And when I was only by myself, it was torture. I couldn't think. Anybody new I met just wouldn't understand what I'm trying to say. And the fact that you got everything so quick and started even revealing stuff to me that I didn't even know, like big thoughts and concepts and stuff like that, that I feel like other people, I would have to sort of get them into the mindset to understand me. You already passed by that. And I don't know why I picked those up, but yeah. And that right there, just upon like the first week of getting to know you, you've shown me that stuff like this does exist. Like, people can be good to each other without any reason. You have no reason to talk to me, and you have no reason to keep talking to me. And I understand that it could be the last. Oh shit! I thought that was Satan. That I wasn't paying attention. That every time I text you, the last time I text you could be the last time we would ever talk. And I am fine with that because good doesn't need to have deals. There's no like, hey, you're my friend now you have to talk to me. That doesn't exist. And I feel like the fact that you kept doing this, even though I'm awkward, is very... It exists. It's not something I have to think about anymore. I don't have to imagine me meeting somebody who's like this, because one already exists. They're already just being who they are. And when I start to feel like, or when I start to think of you as kind of a, as you in a, oh, this is one of my favorite parts. When I start to think of you in the form of a delusion, it's like calling you complete, like you're a complete person because of all the qualities you have, and you have a big personality and you could express them well. I call you a complete person because I don't know what an incomplete person is, but because I finally know who you are as a concept, it makes me feel like complete people exist, because for so long I was only thought myself as incomplete, and because you had just things I didn't even understand, like my psychological issue a lot of times makes me feel like I'm imperfect or incomplete. And when I met you, you gave me hope that I'm not just a person, that different types of people exist and you are something I could become, and I don't have to just be always me. And obviously this is crazy, like this isn't like a normal talk, this isn't a normal way of thinking, but I still feel like it makes sense, and the reason that it makes sense is because that's it. It just makes sense to me. I can't express it any more than that. But when I think of you as a person, I think of you as a sky girl. And I guess I'll just show you these things around, because these are the areas that I've been wanting to show you the most, even though I don't really know how to talk around them. But yeah, this game it's like really cool to just trip and fucking fly around the city and do stuff like that. And it's a great way to just talk and just let everything out, because over text I can read what I'm putting on, and sometimes I feel embarrassed because I say something that sounds cringy, and yeah, I can't imagine, I can't explain you to anybody, like I can't imagine anybody else making sense of what I am saying right now. And I just when I don't even know what I'm trying to talk about, it made me... Oh shit, I just killed that person. Yeah, it made me feel really bad. Okay, but when I came across the revelation that I don't know what I'm even trying to think, which sounds awful, that is a really big part of like my torment, is that I don't know what I'm trying to think. And when I finally do, you're the first one to hear it. My therapist doesn't hear it usually, and until like appointments, and I can't just call a number because then I'll get put on a list. But I have faith that you're a good person, and that even though, yeah, well, a good person, the concept by itself doesn't make any sense, because if a person's good, then that means there's a standard of person, because there would be just a regular person, and regular people don't exist either. But I want to believe that good exists based off of no logic, that being good is just something that happens. It's a miracle, just like how me randomly texting you off of seeing you tagged in, I think it was Michael's track something, one of their, I don't know, but and then just looking at your art and they want to talk to you and then messaging you incredibly awkwardly and then still continuing to talk to you seems like it just wouldn't happen. Like those are so many steps that could have just been cancelled if you just believed it to be. Or did not believed it. If you just realized it, you would have just said no, and you could still say no. And I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but I have an issue with obsessing over people, and I attach concepts to them. And with my favorite person now, the concept would be that there is something to fight for. I wanted to make the world better so she could live easy in it, and that people like her can exist, and innocence exists, and that I shouldn't have this masochistic view on the world, because if I do, then it will make it harder for people like her to exist, and I didn't want the world to be more miserable to people like her than it already is. So I had a reason to want to be famous and become rich and change the world and make it everything possible for people like that, and that's my concept of innocence. But then I realized that that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because what does innocence imply? And to me, back then, I couldn't know, but I'm not going to refuse that what I thought of her was wrong. I'm not just going to say like, oh, yeah, I guess good and evil doesn't exist, so she doesn't matter. It just doesn't make sense to me. And when I kept trying to piece it together, because I didn't want to lose hope, like my hope in mankind, I tried to talk to people, and I ended up losing her to, I had to graduate, and she's still in high school, and she was like a little sister to me. And I have very little contact with her now, and I just want to believe that she'll be okay, because people like me could think the same and just be good to her. But I didn't know what being good is. So when I try talking to people and asking them like their opinions on good and evil out of nowhere, I couldn't get an answer. What? Oh, it was a mistake.
Oh.
This is so awkward. Oh. Okay, but basically I had to do 3 missions for this guy, and they failed because like what he just mentioned, the reporter something got sold out to somebody else. So all my work that I did for him was nothing, but my character was just like, I guess that's just what happens. That's just how life is. And that's all she thinks about it. But she still does good. She doesn't think about it too long like I do. Like she's like, oh, maybe good doesn't exist. She's just continuously doing good. And at the end, this leads to her fighting the incarnation of evil because she becomes the incarnation of good. And she ends up dying because she has to eliminate evil and good at the same time. But besides the point, well, actually, exactly the point. I feel like this just makes sense with how I imagine you to be. And I know that people are flawed, and I know that being good all the time in any situation might not exist. I accept that fact that maybe I won't be perfect somehow, no matter how hard I try, even with my limitations. But I feel like if people admit that they have limits and then reduce perfection to a standard that they can live by and then meet that standard, they could become perfect. And I feel like that is close to what you have done. That you are flawed in ways I don't know, and that you obviously have emotions and you're still not, I don't know how to say this. You're going to live more? Yeah, okay, so you're going to live more. And by that, you'll still have time. And I feel like you'll eventually be perfect. I don't see how this could add up in any other way. In my head, it makes sense that because you can think and because you understand these concepts and you're not just being good just because your nature decides you to be good, is proof that stuff like this exists. That to create an angel or a sky girl or whatever you are, to create whatever you are in my head, if I were to call you an angel, we would have to change the definition of angel. And I feel like you have already started to do that to me, and then I've been starting to do this to other people. And very recently I felt like telling my father who might die. Whoop, that scared me. Jesus Christ, that scared me. I thought about telling my father, who I might not see. He was weak for a really long time, but I still want to see him smile. And oh my gosh, why can't I cry? I still want, it won't come out of my mouth. I want to say my last words to my father, but I want to say my last words to my father like they were every words from now on, because I feel like you can't just shed emotion just because it becomes ritual. And I'm starting to accept the fact that you made me go crazy. Like meeting you, that meeting you was pretty tough on my mental health for a while. But the same with anything, it's always tough at the beginning. And I'm not doing that to be corny, because like I really know that everything I've ever tried needed a lot of work to get good at. In swimming, dancing, fighting, especially fighting, and being good. Everything hurts at the beginning. And why? What the fuck? Why does everybody want to talk to me? That
Oh, Rafael, would you?
Oh?
Okay, well, whatever. But yeah, you making me go crazy has been beneficial to me in so many ways. It's helped me in fighting. The fact that a lot of people, they see fighters as kind of like assholes and douches because like I can't even talk about the sport I love because people think I'm showing off. And then when we show off about a fight, trouble kind of starts after that. And it's really hard to just have a normal conversation with friends when they shit talk my entire life goal. When usually in other situations it's playful. And then just talking to you throughout the days has helped me realize that I don't have to be anything. Nothing has to happen. And I will be myself purely because I can. And that's just how you live life. That's the purpose of life. And not only that, but being able to express these thoughts also helped me store them and keep them in quotes. So even if you don't watch this video, even if the video doesn't even be made at this point, I'll still find some way to express it. And I guess the ending for this would be, I don't know how to end this. I lost my train of thought. Okay, well there's, yeah, that people don't have a reason to live. There's nothing that says that people just, that there's instructions on people. The fact that humans can think have put them, I don't know, I'm trying really hard to say this. People thinking, the ability to think brings the possibility of conceptualizing pure horror. And I feel like normal people have always been able to do this, but people who are insane, I don't know how politely I could say it, people like me, they don't have a choice sometimes. That sometimes being good and evil isn't a choice. It's just how they perceive the world at that moment. And when I start to realize that living in this reality and accepting that it's my reality is horrifying. And when I am having an existential crisis about suddenly not being able to think, because there are moments when I'm fighting and there's moments when I am dancing that I don't think. It's kind of just a gray area in consciousness. And I don't know exactly what's going on. Fall into like a rhythm and then you just, oh shit, you'll just be able to exist and just be that. But when I feel like I'm not thinking or doing something that, you know, like brushing your teeth, you don't have to think about every time you brush your teeth. When I feel like that happens to me when I'm trying to do something, It's awful. Because I'm wondering what would happen if I just go into autopilot. How would I act? Oh, this is a really cool state I wanted you to see. And that horror of suddenly giving yourself up to something you don't understand because you're so tired of fighting it. That's something I've came to you about, and you've made me feel calm. Like, obviously you're not always right, but nobody can be, and I'm starting to realize that I'm not gonna find this person that could just tell me whatever whatever it is I should do at any point in time, because that person just doesn't exist. But you're definitely close enough to that person that I don't need anybody else to even say anything. This could be the last thing you'd ever hear of me, and I'll be fine, because you have already proven to me that I am delusional. That's what you've shown me, that there is no way to just make sense of the world and everybody must be crazy. And I'm getting really tired of talking, and I feel like this is getting really awkward and silly, but I don't know how else to say this, but this is all I can say. And this game is really pretty. It is amazing, but I don't expect you to have to watch this video. I don't expect you to do anything. It's just, and I'm not trying to impress you with words or philosophies or anything. I honestly starting to wonder if I even consider you a friend. I've mentioned this before in like my big ass message, but besides the point. I have nothing to say. I'm empty again, and I will end this video here.